Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody? Buenos dias, Vanessa. Polo Les and Blue, Carrie. I love how you guys check on each other every morning. All right. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to, technically Snow Talk. As you saw in the title, at least some of you did, it's more of a hybrid setup day of snow and storm talk. Got a feeling we're going to be battling both ideas into the next couple of days. I will explain, and then we will, Travis, I saw your comment as well, we will get to longer term data coming in as well. All right. I hope everyone's doing all right. You missed the sun. Carrie, I do too. But for me, I like driving around town, though, when it's this time of the year, when it's not sunny, because the sun angle's so low, it is always in your face. It's a pain. You're playing with your visor the whole time. You can't see sometimes the brakes when someone slams on them in front of you, which a lot of people do in this town. So to me, it's more of a hindrance in driving. I like it when I'm not driving, for sure. But when I'm driving, I like a cloudy day. It's easier for me to see. I'm also getting grouchy as I get older. Probably makes more sense. All right. Everyone good? Dan says it's spring yet? Nope. Dale, anyone else with a picture? What are you up to, Dale? Hello, Stephanie. Hope all is well. Jeremy, feels like March outside. Okay, Jeremy, that might be a stretch. Okay, so let's get into it because we obviously don't always have a lot of time here in the mornings. So I got to make what I can with you all. So let's get right into the snowboard, which only one addition has been added here. So we still got the rain to snow setup, which is a bit complex in two different ways there for Thursday night into Friday. We'll go into that. And then right around the 27th to the 30th of the end portion of December, a rain to snow type of setup is possible. And I'll explain why. The models are not really going to show it yet, but they may trend toward it. And that's the way it's looking. Christmas will be in between that. Spoiler alert, don't see a lot changing for Christmas at this point. I do think it is going to be a warm one and a windy one too. Warm and windy. Yay. All right. So here's the cloud cover that has rolled into town today. This more expansive than what was originally expected. So that is going to slow the roll down on the thermometer. Now, with it moving in last night, would it did help us in doing is prevented the drop from many areas from being as significant. It wasn't expected to be a huge drop, but a drop into the lower 20s was at least anticipated, and many spots were not able to achieve that because we have the blanket of clouds. So in kind of a split view here, we didn't drop as low as expected, but we're not likely to get as warm as expected today. But the balancing of all that out still equates to being above freezing for today. So it'll be a modest amount of melting here without the sun hitting it full on, but you should still see some snow melt. So it likely will be tomorrow that we will get the majority of our melt to be more dramatic and completely erased. But these low clouds are actually spitting out a few flurries at times. If you're thinking, did I see a flurry fly by when I was out? Your mind is not deceiving you. These are very low clouds, and there's just enough moisture around to allow for that. So that's it, though. A flake or two taking place. You can see the impact on the thermometers here, especially south and west, where it got into West Kentucky. Whoops, hello. Where it got into West Kentucky earlier than it did to areas northeast of town. So they really did not drop much at all. Around Evansville, West Kentucky, didn't get to the freezing mark. Louisville got down below freezing, and now we're just a slow climb, but right at that mark hovering. And again, if you're north and east of Louisville, you held on to the clearing a little longer, therefore you had a bit more of a drop. But now that the clouds are rolling in for you, you'll be some of our colder areas today. So that's also where some of the deeper snowpack is still. So you will hold on to that today. You're not going to see much of a change in the melting, very modest amounts. Here's a view from space of this low stratus deck. It doesn't show up very bright on the satellite because it is low. Clouds that are very high up show very bright. On a visible satellite, the ones that are really low to the ground have that very gray look to them. This is kind of just barely hugging the terrain. One of those setups where if you were in a plane, it's sunny as can be above it, and then at the very last minute, the landing gear has been deployed, and you're getting lower and lower, and you're like, where's the ground? Where's it at? And then you go through this bank of clouds, and then poof, you come out of it, and there's suddenly the runway in the city of Louisville underneath it, and you come in for a landing. It's that type of day, and it will be all day. This is feeding right along the Ohio River Valley itself. So this is a moisture just above our head. It can get trapped easily this time of the year, and the sun angle is not high enough to mix the air as rapidly as it can in the middle of summer in this similar type of scenario. So clouds are likely going to rule a good chunk of the day. We may see the other side of this to allow for maybe some late day sun. Let me show you where the other side is. That's back into areas of the Ozarks, although there's a little bit of thinning right there around Evansville. We'll see if that can hold. But in general, this is kind of drifting, kind of an east-northeast flow. So, I mean, it's not a perfect rectangle here of clouds. It's got some odd shapes to it. Some areas you may get a little bit of sun at times later today. Some will hold on to the low stratus for much of the afternoon. But it is going to be on the move and scurry on out. You can still see that snowpack, by the way, just being lit up there across Illinois. Now the clouds are obscuring it around Louisville, but then it continues to the bluegrass area, Kentucky, and then into West Virginia. And points north of that, that's where the snow is still on the ground up there. Anyone up there? Adam, you still up there? Are you on here, Adam? Curious how much you still have left from the weekend that you've been able to retain. Or if anybody's up around Cincinnati, Kirk, are you on here, Kirk? Or are you down in Florida? Let's see. Mark's over in Corden. Hi, Mark. Les, there you are. Les, you're up there. All right, so let us know, Les, how much you got. 19 this morning there in Covington. Good morning, Wyatt. Hope all is well. Thanks, Les. 4 inches on the snowpack there. And Louisville, it depends. I mean, my neighborhood is actually a little closer to, I would say, 1.5 inches to 2 inches on the snowpack. Although, it did shrink down overnight, I can tell. But yesterday afternoon, I should say, clarify, it was a little closer to 1.5 inches to almost 2 inches. But, when I got closer to the city of Louisville, obviously, you saw patches of it, but it was definitely a bit thicker, actually, in the southern part of the county. Sligo is, how much? 2 inches, Sligo. All right. Good morning, Vicky, over in Madison. Let me know how much you got there in Madison, too, Vicky, when you get a chance. All right. So, anyway, that's a minor detail. I don't want to get into the weeds on clouds for 10 minutes here. All right. So where is our storm system that is in question for Thursday? Well, it's way out to the west. In fact, it's just now arriving into Seattle and Vancouver in this atmospheric river that you guys have been hearing about. These folks have just been in such bad shape. I'm sure you've been seeing the breaking news reports I think there's 2, maybe 3 levees now that have failed into Washington State. Some evacuations have been happening, a lot of flooding in this area. This has been nonstop for them. While we've been dealing with cold and the snowy aspect here locally, we're getting the energy from this once it comes down the Rockies, but they're getting the very front end of it when it slams against the Pacific Northwest. And it's just a tremendous amount of heavy rain. I mean, Seattle's known for rain, right? But more of a light rain and drizzle, not flooding. That is not as common. That's a little more what we see down as you toward California at times. Although this is going to be shifting south along the California coast. And I always like to say, in most cases, when you start talking about, especially LA, but when you start talking about central and southern California getting heavier rain, that typically means it's going to warm here. When they are dry and sunny and warm and they're bragging about it, that's usually a sign we're going to be cold here. So California, just like Alaska's weather can be a signal to what our impacts would be. It's a general rule of thumb. It's not always applicable, but I think it's a fair setup for certainly in this pattern. So right now they're still getting hit, but I'm sure they'll be glad to see the jet kind of shift just a bit into the coming days. But anyway, that's our system that's going to be in question. So it's just not really getting sampled. I don't think there's going to be a lot of change on it because models are actually pretty good agreement on really timing. The finer details, though, on dynamics of the system will indeed matter. Let me explain. Here is Futurecast. So this is, by the way, where our in-house model says that bank of clouds, that's the shape of it. And we did see this yesterday. It was even smaller. It looked more like that in West Kentucky when I saw this bank of clouds yesterday in the data. So I was like, yeah, that's minor. It's not going to be a huge deal. Well, you saw what it looked like in the satellite. It's much wider than that. So anyway, just goes to show you the models are, they're fun sometimes. They got a sense of humor. So we get into this afternoon. It's showing hints that we can go in full sun later and jump up. I'd be skeptic of that. Always be skeptic of a low cloud deck clearing out. So bank on the colder idea today. But again, most areas will still get above freezing. Okay, tomorrow, it's different layers of clouds. Tomorrow, more of a higher deck as we get a weak little wave. This is not the main storm system, by the way, that arrives here on Thursday. This is a weak wave that is going to track along the Great Lakes. It'll briefly enhance moisture in the Ohio Valley, and that's why we have the shower chance in for Wednesday. I don't think it's going to be enough of a residency time to really ramp up a rain chance, but it may provide for enough lift to get a few light showers. Wouldn't surprise me. More importantly, it will allow for enough warming to get us into the 50s as we hit into the afternoon hours, upper 40s, lower 50s. So not a bad setup. You start to see the fog that will likely then develop in the warm front late Wednesday night. This will be something we'll watch because at the same time, the wind field is going to be increasing. The challenge we have in nocturnal events like this, when you have warm air moving in, you've had a cold ground for a while, and you've got also wind about to ramp up. It's that shield again, the inversion close to the ground. How intact will that be? Because if it's a fairly strong inversion, even though it is windy above our head, it could still allow fog to form at the ground level. Kind of an eerie feeling look to things when that happens. But that's possible for late Wednesday night and Thursday. But in general, the models I don't think are locking on yet to the rising temps Wednesday night. But I do think we will have rising temps throughout the night while you're asleep and should wake up close to 50 or higher on Thursday morning. Anytime you get that sense or we talk about that, that usually is a clear winner that something's about to happen when you are warming in the middle of the night instead of getting colder. And especially when you wake up and it feels warm enough that you don't need a heavy coat, then that's usually a sign of like, oh, something wicked this way comes as we head into Thursday, right? So there we go with the moisture increasing into Thursday morning. This is the warmer flow as we get into Thursday. Spotty showers possible, but what we got to watch is going to be the very front portion of this front. How partly cloudy do we become on Thursday? Because that will allow for better mixing. Therefore, some of these stronger wind gusts after we get past that inversion time period can start reaching the ground. This is going to make or break the idea of a wind advisory for Thursday. If we're mainly cloudy, it may be a little tougher to get some of these stronger wind gusts to the ground until we get heavier rain in the area, which we will eventually get into Thursday night. But as far as the daytime period Thursday, the only weather drama that we'll be facing will be wind advisory or not for Thursday. Otherwise, temperatures do warm. We'll have a couple spotty showers that may try to form in that flow. That's fair. This particular model, the in-house model, wants to get us into lower 60s. My goodness, get the pull out. But you see what's coming our way. This is still a double banded rain setup. The graph has really focused more on the second one lately in the most recent run, but there will be likely 2 bands of rain here. And this first one will be the one that we'll have to watch for some isolated strong thunderstorm potential with that. It's possible if we get enough fuel. That will depend on a lot of factors during the day, the amount of moisture being pulled in. You don't need as much as you do in March or May around here. In December, it's different. You only need a small amount. And same with wind energy. Wind energy would be high with this. That's the easy part. We know there's a lot of wind energy, but not all of it can be used in the storm scenario. But even a small amount can trigger a more stormier setup with strong damaging winds. So, and it's one of those weird setups where you can get that type of setup without lightning. So heavy rain showers, gusty rain showers. I don't know. It's a bit odd to word it. But anyway, the first band we'll watch to see if anything strong can develop out of that. Otherwise, this certainly will be the main band that will move in. I like the timing, to be honest with you. So look at the clock. I don't think this is going to change a ton at this point. So 4 p.m., it'll be windy. It'll be warm. It will feel nice. Again, 60 in December feels a lot different than 60 in September. So it'll feel nice outside, but it would be breezy outside, windy. And again, a few isolated showers begin to pop, but the main show will already be moving into Evansville. Then we get into about 7 p.m. And I think the 7 p.m. window is a fair time period of target for Louisville, especially, but anywhere really in the coral wave country up and down 65 to have the line move through. At this point, if we're going to have any type of warnings could get issued, it would be accompanied with that portion of the line. But even again, just showers, heavy showers, the wind feels so strong, it could tap into some of that and push it down to the ground level. So it's going to be a tough one for the Weather Service, as always, is the time of the year, because sometimes you can get strong, heavy showers. But again, a severe thunderstorm warning typically includes lightning with it, right? So in this case, they may do that, or they may issue a lot of special weather statements. I'm not sure. It's always a tough one this time of year. I feel for them. Because the menu selection you have on issuing statements and warnings, it's got like a drop down of how you select the types, and it doesn't always have all the parameters listed. But anyway, we'll worry about that later as we get closer. Just know that it needs to be watched, certainly, as we head into Thursday evening. The commute depends on when you go home. If your commute is a little bit more in the 6 o'clock hour, you may feel some impacts from this. That's something we're considering as well for a possible alert day. Will be impacts on the commute with the very heavy round of rain, wind. Oh, that's certainly going to mess up traffic at a bad time. But there also will be that low and severe risk, and there will be a potential for wind advisory. So a lot of factors just on the warmer side of the system they're watching. Now, on the colder side of it, it is interesting. I have noticed a trend. You don't see it here on the graph, but there has been a trend for the 850 temperatures aloft, especially in Indiana around I-70. That may cool enough. And I think some of this may be in part to the snowpack that will likely still be on the ground on Thursday. There is a chance they may cool enough that the atmosphere is not as warm as it is in southern Indiana counties, that there could be a thumping of snow, even with a heavier rain band. For now, I think that's going to be out of our area, again, where that deeper snowpack will be, because we're going to lose a lot here, obviously, the next couple of days. But Indiana's had, and Ohio's had quite a bit. So they may have some still on the ground. I only mention if you're traveling north, don't be surprised if their outlook changes to where they could get a little bit of a thumping or mixing with something wintry before the band moves out. It is possible. But as of right now, to be clear, I think that will be just north of our counties. We'll watch it. Otherwise, the next challenge we got, we're still on Thursday. Next challenge we got is the temperature drop. It will crash as we get into the evening, but it will also remain windy. Now, the wind will only relax briefly as the passage in between the rain and the front moving through. There is a lull that happens. The wind eases down. Some cases goes down to like 10 miles per hour. And then you get it from the other direction, it ramps back up. Not exactly like the eye of a hurricane, but you know how the eye of a hurricane can be that way, though, where you got a lot of wind before it and that calms, and then you get wind on the other side. Just think of it more elongated, but same idea. Ooh, that's a lot of folks out without power in Jefferson County, Indiana. Anybody up there, Vicky? You got power up there? 12.9% of the county, 2,500 customers. I don't have a map of where that is within the county, but let us know, Vicky. Again, that just came in from Wavy. Wavy's pretty good about that, by the way. It's usually right on the money when that pops in. Okay, sorry, I get distracted. Thank you, Wavy. Temperatures are going to be crashing. Now, the question we've got as they crash into Thursday night, will the roads freeze up? Because again, it will still be windy. And we will likely have some dry time. I say some because there will be snow showers that will then. There's a fort that moves out of Illinois. They'll be moving in into a Thursday night and early Friday. The models are not having a good time capturing this. If anything, the Canadian probably is doing the best on sniffing this out. But it's there, and it will likely enhance snow showers. Very common thing to see on that track. So I think we'll have flurries and snow showers that will begin to race in throughout later Thursday night and early Friday. But again, how fast do the roads dry up? And what I'm leading toward is an idea of whether or not we could face a flash freeze or not. For now, the window is it's more like a triangle of the dry time to go from a wet road to below freezing. It's a shorter window for those of you in the northern part of the triangle. And around Louisville, it's decent, and then a lot longer in our southern counties of a duration. This is a candy corn. Anyway, as you get into the northern part of that triangle, that's the area that may face more of the flash freeze because your duration from the rain ending and the temperature drop is going to be very short. So right now, again, that looks to be just north of our counties, but something we're watching. Most of the time here when we've had this scenario, the wind does its thing and helps. It doesn't reach every road the same way, but for most roads, it does pretty well. But we are going to drop down from potentially around 60 or so in the afternoon to about 23 by early Friday morning. That's a big drop. That's nearly a 40-degree drop. I mean, hello, that's going to get your attention, right? I mean, wind chills in Indiana maybe in the single digits Friday morning. The snow showers will be light, very low content on moisture with that. We'll come back around in just a second. So looking at the gradient wind in general for Thursday, threshold is roughly 40 miles per hour. It's going to be really close. We'll see how that plays out for advisory or any alert day potential just on the wind element. But again, that's not the only element of the day that will be factoring a lot of things for impacts for you guys. The severe risk was added today from the Storm Prediction Center. It's a low end marginal. They drew it basically on the southern edge of where they think the snowpack would still be impactful to where there will be no snowpack. And I think that's absolutely fair. Don't really get a marginal risk and the severe risk over a snowpack very often. That creates a natural inversion when you have snowpack on the ground like that. So yeah, it's a little tougher for that to take place. But yes, this is fair only because of the wind that could be pulled down to the ground. But remember, we can get some of this without lightning. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge. So it's a low wind severe risk. That's absolutely fair where they have that. Here is CSU. Let me bring this full screen. CSU is hinting at a low end tornado threat just west of us. Only because of timing there. We'll monitor that. It just added that in, so it could expand that a little more east in southern Kentucky. I think southern Kentucky, I mentioned yesterday, the parkways and south, I still think it's an area to watch. Then your hail potential is down to the south. We're going to be much warmer, of course. That makes sense. And then your just general damage wind potential. Yeah, I think anywhere along that southern edge of the snowpack and south is fair game on that. So that is a good looking map on wind. The tornado part, we'll work on that and monitor it. We've seen this happen in both other scenarios that are similar to this. We have had a tornado produced. It was mainly in our southern counties that's happened. In one case, it was out of our area in southeast Kentucky, but still worth watching. We'll circle back around to that. It's only Tuesday. Snow cover potential. Well, I mean, this is going to be just snow showers. The only thing that would maybe enhance that a bit would be a thumping of snow if we were to see any changeover in the main rain band. That may give you a thumping in some areas just north. Otherwise, the snow showers will be kind of breezing on by here. You're going to get very light scattered amounts. You can get a half inch here and there. It'll be frozen, obviously, in the lower 20s. So the only thing that would prevent really an accumulating setup and actually work against you would be the wind. The wind will blow it around. So it's a little tougher to accumulate, actually, in a windy scenario. But that looks minor. But that's another factor that we're watching that could lead to 6 spots for Friday morning. Okay, so any questions on any of that? There's the Euro snapshot. Interesting. Look at the Euro. It shows that little changeover happening over that snowpack to our north there. Interesting to see that. Any questions on this? We have power in Madison. Thank you, Vicki. It may be a different part of Jefferson County. Dan, I'm assuming Thursday is the day to deflate the inflatables. Yes. Do not inflate the inflatables for Thursday or Thursday night. you may be able to Friday night. That should relax in. Although it's worth mentioning, as you're about to see, the wind is going to ramp back up Saturday. Josh, 24-hour temperature drop. That's a good question. I've looked that up so many times in the years I've been here, and I can't never retain it. This will not match that record because we've seen 30 to 40, even 45-degree drops before, and I never recall it hitting a record level. So it must be pretty up there. But good question, Josh. I will check into that. If you hear us talk about it later, you know why. Vicky says she got still 3 inches there in Madison. All right. Let's see. Any other questions? Todd, does the snowpack make the potential for small trees toppling more likely? Not necessarily. The soggy ground of the melt would allow that. But one thing that helps avoid tree damage this time of year is they don't have leaves. You know, when the trees get leaves on them, they become sails, and that leads to higher amounts of tree damage when they leaf out. So in the winter time, we really don't get as much tree damage reports. You either get a tree that is old and falls over, or you can get some uprooting of the whole tree because of the wet ground. That can happen, yes. But branches breaking off is not as common as you would have when they have leaves on them. So I think this is more just an issue at this point. Damaging wind gusts impact crosswind and travel. Trees that are, again, weakly rooted could fall. There could be a power line. It could get knocked down, that kind of issue. So there is some wind damage potential that you can get with these strong wind gusts, but this time of the year, we don't have as many on the threat list as we do in the warmer season, if that makes sense. Hello there, Joanne. Any trouble for my son flying in from Alaska? Oh, Atlanta, sorry. I had Alaska on the brain. Flying in from Atlanta. Don't panic. He's not coming from Alaska, Joanne. All right, he's coming from Atlanta. Thursday night. There could be some delays because the pilots are not going to be able to really fly into this. They're going to have to go around this. So in some cases, they'll have to wait till it passes by other regional hubs and then take off. So if it's 11 p.m., Joanne, I tell them to stay close to the board and watch it because there could be absolutely some delays just because they'll have to space the planes out. There's a lot of factors at play. Busy time of the year, getting to the holiday week away from Christmas at that point. So I would say, yes, there will be delays. Will he make it? I don't know. Being the late flight of the day is always a risk, right? Hopefully it's a straight flight in here. But tell him to be ready and aware for some delays be showing up on the board with his front. But good question. ChatGPT, thank you, ChatGPT. 24-hour record 58. All right, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I think it's pretty up there, Dan. So thank you for looking that up. I appreciate it. Because I know that we've had 35 to 40, 45s before, and it hasn't really been a huge headline. But still, we'll watch it. Okay, so what's ahead of us? Because I'm already running over on time. Shocker. This system rolls on by as we head into Friday night. The snow part, again, minor, but it will be just a quick reminder that winter technically hasn't started. It starts on Sunday. But anyway, that wintry weather isn't done with us. That's what I was trying to say. Because it's going to be very misleading, that warm spell on Thursday. But Friday, yeah, we're back to it again. Again, single-digit wind chills for Indiana. Friday morning, I think it's possible. For the rest of the area, wind chills will stay 20 to 25 all day on Friday. Cold and blustery Friday. Saturday, we begin immediately to warm things up. Another low moves in, this time staying way north. Doesn't have the ability to really connect very well, so the rain chance is going to be tougher, but it will ramp up the wind. So it will be windy as we jump back into the 50s on Saturday. So it's like a one-day cold snap. The only thing I'm going to be watching here, as this little wave tracks east-southeast, it will drop our 850 temperatures for the latter half of the weekend into early next week. Why is that important? Well, there's a scenario that I was talking about yesterday that has been in the back of my head for a while. It keeps showing up. I'll leave it in the back of my head for now. It's safer there. But it's a classic overrunning that you can get with cold air attacks at that angle. We'll watch it. I don't think it's anything to worry about now. I think the warmer may overwhelm the system Monday and Tuesday, and this be rain. But you can see it's going to be close. You can even see the Euro tries to hint at the leading edge being some snow into Indiana and Ohio. And I think it's fair for that area. But for right now, for us, I'm leaning more to the idea the warmer air will win out, especially without it being a true Arctic blast that reaches us. We're just grazed by it. So we'll watch that. But it's not on the snowboard. for that very reason that confidence is it's too low in it. After that, we get into a massive warm front that is going to start here in the Front Range of the Rockies Christmas Eve morning and just race across the Great Lakes into Ontario. And boy, this is going to be a warm surge that will impact nearly the entire country. Windy and warm. Warm, 60s. I think we're going to have a lot of 70s in the southern plains, maybe the deep south, but a lot of 60s here. So the risk for a white Christmas, extremely low this year. You wouldn't think that, right? But that's see how fast things change around here. But yeah, that's the way it's looking now. And I think this, obviously things could change, but the pattern fits this very well. So I think this is near a lock on that idea. Once we get beyond Christmas, then things get a little wonky. And this is one of the reasons why the NAO goes negative as we get into after Christmas to about the 30th or so. That is going to allow for a very interesting setup, very much a similar one for the weekend. That low goes from the Great Lakes and just grazes us in the early next week. That pattern will actually intensify a bit more. The dip over just I-65 east up and down the country, only that section will have a bit of a dip that will take place. It'll probably still warm all the way to Minnesota, but in our area, there will likely be the potential for a very sharp angle of a storm system that would dive down. That could be interesting. We can get snow sometimes out of that. They can be very potent systems. So we'll watch, but the signal's at least there on the table. The map's not quite showing it yet. We'll see if this holds, but the teleconnections are trying to tell us anyway that that's a period to watch just after Christmas. That's why it's on the snowboard. Looking at the new long-term Euro all the way into January, well, it continues with the odd theme where we're likely going to have a storm track that will still impact parts of the West Coast, northern Pacific Northwest there. Likely get into a ridge, and then you're going to get into likely again a dip for the eastern Great Lakes here in the New England area. And you're going to get a lot of warmth in the plains. You're going to get a lot of warmth here across the deep south as well. This is going to be a very challenging January because of that idea of having these sharp systems. We saw this really early, late November, early December. It was very similar. You can get clippers this way. That may be the common theme. As you got a lot of clippers that dive in, but will you get a storm system that rolls in out of Texas, this massive snowstorm? Well, if this pattern is indeed what we face, that is a lot harder to have happen. So maybe lighter snows in January, but still could trend colder. I mean, this could really deepen down much more than what I'm showing here, but again, would still be more of a clippery kind of idea. We'll see. The new long-term matrix on snow. Yeah, well, it's okay. This is, it doesn't really start to light up the board until New Year's Day or the first week of the new year, and then has a couple more ramp ups that take place as January evolves. But you can tell that it's, we do have a fall period here. It's very uncertain on the end of January or December. It doesn't have much there at all. Only one ensemble member, but I still think that's a period to watch personally. But then we'll just have to see what the storm track will be. And I can see why this is going to struggle. It will. So I have very low confidence in this matrix compared to other times we've seen it this year. Okay, let's get into the 10-day. It's some of your questions you may have. 39 today. Again, some of you north to east of town will be colder. And then we got the warm setup on Thursday that will lead to the return to winter Friday. Winter officially begins, by the way, on Sunday. There's that drop in temperature that happens Sunday and Monday with that little dip in the Great Lakes. Again, for now, we'll bet on the warmer air. We'll win out when it counts. And we'll go with potentially Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving. Christmas Eve, we may actually have temperatures rising all night. So we may hit 57 on Christmas Eve, but we may keep going. We may not have a 56 there because we're not expecting much of a drop, if at all. It may actually rise. But it will be windy right now. I will say that. It's going to be windy for Christmas. So if you're getting a drone, or you think you're going to get a drone, you may not be able to fly it. A kite? Yeah, kite would be good. Jeremy, what does CPC say about precip? In general, it's got above normal. Not necessarily precip. Sorry, let me correct that. I think it's actually below normal on precip, just because of the storm track being a little more north. Prelude, just a few weeks ago, if there was any chance of White Christmas, this would be the year. Yeah, I agree. That's how frustrating it is, isn't it? I know. There's every year, this would have been absolutely. I mean, we've been off by a week. We would have been facing that, right? Uh, Especially with this front the way it is moving in this week. Yeah, I know it's more of a Thursday night into Friday, but I mean, just a week off, it would have had a better chance. It could have happened. But timing matters. Timing matters, guys. Sorry, don't anyone get mad at me. But at least you can get to grandma's house with no problem, other than the wind. Everyone good? I know this is a lot to digest. Wait, they're sold out of drones for 10 months? Really? Why? I didn't know they were that in high demand. What am I missing? Must be TikTok. Utilities need a break anyway. You're right, Brandon. We do. We need a break. We need to be able to just give the furnace an ease because we all know this is going to do our bills. And we know that we're not even into winter. We got a lot to get through, right? Into January. And we don't know how February is going to look yet. And lately, February tends to be our worst month around here. So we'll see. All right, guys. I'm going to end it there for now. You all take care of each other. And I will see you guys coming up on midday at 11 a.m. And we'll see how this all looks coming up tomorrow.